In today's video, I'm going to share some great Texas native plant options that I use to replace some of the plants that did not make it through this summer drought. I'm going to think out loud in case it might help you strategize as you begin to plan out your fall planting or even your spring planting for next year. So stay tuned. Okay, so here you can see I did have a autumn sage that I just kind of forgot to water, and I went ahead and it died, and so I replaced it with a flame acanthus. Not that autumn sage is a bad option by any means, because I've just added more, but I just neglected it. And so most flame acanthus are red like you see here, but I also have one in its second growing season here that has these orange blossoms on it. So these tend to get a little taller than they are wide, about maybe 4 to 6 feet in height, but a little bit narrower in spread. I did have a really scraggly Texas sage, and sometimes that can happen when you don't have enough sun, but this is western exposure, so I think it just probably was it got hit by the freeze or something. There was just some sort of insult and it just never quite recovered. So I have replaced it with this other Texas sage, and I believe this is called Green Cloud. So just something to keep in mind. Texas sages are not all one and the same. There are lots of varieties that come in different sizes and some with different foliage hues, and so there can be some. This one's supposed to have more of a green foliage instead of that more silvery. So just something to consider when you're thinking about getting a Texas sage. Pay attention to the variety you're getting. And then, so that was a replacement, and then really where the big replacement came in. So I've got 3 autumn sage here, and then I've got some Blackfoot daisies, and everything's looking pretty scraggly right now, but they will fill out as the seasons progress, and they'll start looking a little bit better. But one of the things about this Blackfoot daisy that I have read, this is my first time using them, but I have read that they are very, adverse to clay and wet soil conditions. And so that's all I got here is clay. So I had to heavily amend my soil with expanded shale, and hopefully these guys will do well. These are perennials. They'll come back year after year, and they self-sow. And so we'll see how these guys do. All right, and you can see that I have put that on repetition here. So again, 1, 2, 3 autumn sage. Also, I think these are red as well, red or pink. And then again, Blackfoot daisies here in the forefront. And then here I did have a podocarpus, right? But then I replaced it with an autumn sage, or excuse me, a Texas sage. And this one is, I think, called San Antonio Rose. So a little bit more compact than the one I showed you earlier. Does have more of that silvery foliage than the other one, if you could tell the difference there. And so I think that'll fill that space in nicely. Plus it's an evergreen, so you can't beat that. And I was considering moving this gaura. This is, I think, called Passionate Rainbow, this gaura over there, but it does not get as tall as the other varieties of gaura. So I'm going to leave it there. I think it gets maybe 3 feet with flower stalks, but it's been, it's not really done much, because I think it's been it's the first season in, and it's been super hot. So it's kind of at the crawl stage of getting established, so we'll see how it does. There's my Greg Smith flower it's just super happy here. But here I had that gaura, and it was real gangly and kind of overgrowing, like almost the entire sidewalk, because it was so tall. So I did move it back here, and it looked like a giant tumbleweed after I transplanted it, kind of like this one does, because I transplanted it as well. But you can see that there's some growth in there. So As I understand it, these gauras and a lot of these Texas natives tend to have a really long taproot, and so they are tough to transplant, but I think we might make it. We'll see. And I'll probably have to kind of cut this one down as well, but I'm just kind of letting it ride for now, and we'll see how that goes. But those are, because they're so tall, I did transplant them to the back. Here is a Texas Lantana. That'll have a real nice spread here. I think it'll fill that space in nicely. Here, I added a zexmenia, and this is a really nice compact shrub with yellow flowers, and does great in the full sun. And again, this is western exposure, so I think it'll be pretty happy there. Here, I'm super excited about this. This doesn't look like much, but this is a Mexican oregano, and very fragrant, beautiful flowers. Is an evergreen. I'm sure it probably freezes down in harsh winters, but it gets 4 by 4 feet. So again, looks kind of scraggly right now, but I think it'll fill in nicely. So here in the forefront of this crepe myrtle, I have added skullcap, and this is different than the native white skullcap. This is pink skullcap, which is also an evergreen, about the same size, about 1 foot in height and spread, maybe a little bit bigger, but just has those pink instead of purple flowers. And that is it. So those were my replacements, but you can see here that a lot of things have started to really blossom and bloom again now that the temperatures have dropped, and we had a little bit of rain. So I think this will be a really colorful corner once it fully gets established.